Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass with JayBee, Milly, and Smash.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Aya interview with Kate Melton. This is in association with the Smash or Pass podcast. And as always, we have the host, JayBee.
Hey.
Me, Milly, and of course, Smash.
Hello.
And of course, today we also have our very special guest star, Kate.
Hello, everybody.
So thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. We do, of course, have so much that we want to talk to you about. So, JayBee, do you have your first question?
Yes, of course. So the first question that I wanted to ask you is, did you watch any Scooby-Doo as a child? And if so, who was your favourite member of Mystery Inc.? And I guess then, what was your favourite series to go along with that?
So yes, of course I watched, Scooby-Doo as a child. I feel like everybody watches Scooby-Doo as a child. So naturally, my favorite member was actually Daphne, just because I felt like I related to her the most. And I would have to say that my favorite series, not to be boring, but I think just Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Like the classic, series was definitely my favorite growing up.
You can never beat the classics.
No, never. It's amazing.
All right, I think I have the next question. So thank you for that. What Scooby-Doo monster do you think would have been the most, you would have been the most scared of as a child that you've seen?
Honestly, I kind of feel like the lake monster in Curse of the Lake Monster was pretty horrifying. And the witch, I feel like the monsters in that movie were frightening. I know that there were kids, that said it was too scary. So I feel like with the special effects and everything, I think that frog monster thing would have been pretty horrifying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. Like, for me, it was a step up, because for me, the first movie, I'm petrified of snakes. So seeing the snake towards the end, I was just like, it wasn't even the monster, it's just the snake. I was like, no. But yeah, in the lake monster, it really kind of stepped up with that. My first question is, did you have any Scooby-Doo merchandise as a child, like DVDs and cuddly toys and that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. I had t-shirts. We were really big. My family, we were really big into Universal Studios at the time. So we would go to Florida every year. We'd do Disney, we'd do Universal. And at the time, they had like a Hanna-Barbera area. And they had a ride that Scooby-Doo was in it. And so they had a bunch of Scooby-Doo merchandise. So every time we would go, I would buy Scooby-Doo merchandise. My sister was really into Scooby-Doo as well. And actually, she had a Scooby-Doo, like a light switch plate that you put over your light switch in your bedroom. So we had tons of Scooby-Doo stuff. And then of course, after I did the movies, I had to tell everybody, like, listen, you've got to stop buying me Scooby-Doo merchandise. Like it's getting out of hand now. So yeah, I had tons as a child. And then after I did the movies, I could have opened a store with all of the Scooby-Doo merchandise. Every holiday, somebody would be like, here, I found this Scooby-Doo plate or whatever. And it got to be a little much.
That's amazing.
That is honestly incredible. Like, so many memories of some of the childhood things, especially in terms of merchandise. But I suppose a part of our regular program is reviewing every single Scooby-Doo movie so far. I think we've just finished the Phantasaur episode, and we're kind of going to do all of them. So I was wondering, what was the first Scooby-Doo movie that you remember loving yourself?
So I'm just going to tell you right now, as far as being the expert on all things Scooby-Doo, I will probably disappoint you in that area because I am not. And I was at one time, but a lot has happened in the last 10 years. But I do know that I really loved, Ghoul School.
Oh, yes.
Me too.
I remember being a kid and just being fascinated by Ghoul School. Like I loved it, and they would play it on Cartoon Network, and I was obsessed with it as a kid. But I like scary, like I like haunted houses and like Halloween and all that kind of stuff. So naturally, I gravitated towards that one.
That is amazing. I have so many fun memories of that as well, especially on those old tapes and stuff before we had DVDs.
Yes.
Wow, that is a throwback. And more on that kind of media platform, have you ever met any of the cast of any of the other Scooby-Doo movies, be it live action or animated?
Yeah, so actually kind of a funny story. Obviously I met Frank Welker, but a funny story is that I had a friend that, and this had to have been like 6 years ago. It was an ex-boyfriend's sister, but she was in a musical in LA at this place called Rockwell Table and Stage. And the musical was a Cruel Intentions musical. So they had taken the movie Cruel Intentions and then added 90s music and turned it into a stage show. And one of the nights, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Selma Blair, and Reese Witherspoon came to see the show. And I was at the after party afterwards, and I was like, I'd had a drink or two. And I was like, oh, this is going to be so cool. Like, I'll go up to Sarah Michelle Gellar and say hi, because, she played Daphne as well. So I go over to her and I'm like, hey, sorry to bother you, but this is kind of cool. Like, I also played Daphne. And this woman must have just thought I was like a crazy person, because she just was like, oh, that's nice, and then walked away. I was like, oh. So she I think she didn't believe me. She didn't know what I was talking about. But I was like, oh, well, that's painful.
Oh no.
Oh gosh.
Or maybe she was just jealous because, she admired my work and she was nervous, who knows?
I choose to believe that.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling myself. So
Oh, wow, that's definitely very interesting, and I guess not what many people would expect. Because I know personally, like, I love kind of trying to mix and match people together, especially like people that have played the same role. Like, I know people are dying to see, I guess, in terms of like Marvel, Robert Downey Jr. meet Benedict Cumberbatch because they had the Sherlock thing in common. So
right.
Very interesting.
I think that was great. And that's why I was like, oh, she's going to love this. She's going to think this is great. But yeah, I think she must have just thought I was like some random person that had been at the show, and was approaching her.
Oh.
Well, that actually leads into the next question really well. But have you ever had an actor or actress that you looked up to, like as a child, that influenced you in your life and your career?
I think all the greats. I mean, I really love Kate Winslet a lot. I really love Kate Blanchett. Actually, my name is Caitlin, and I changed it to Kate because I was like, all the great actors are named Kate. So I was like Kate Blanchett, Kate Winslet. I was really big fans of the Kates, so to speak. And I always just really admired their work, and specifically Kate Winslet. I don't know if you guys have seen Mare of Easttown, which is a show that she just did on HBO, but her character work that she does for her characters, she knows those characters better than even like the director or the writers do. And to me, being that I am an actor and also I teach, that's something that I really look up to.
Yeah, that's incredible. So following up from that, was there a moment that you remember in your life that you kind of like knew you wanted to get into the film industry?
Honestly, and I feel like this is such a cliche, like everybody says this, but I think I always knew. I was always, wanting to like put on shows for my family, much to their dismay, in the living room. I'd be like, okay, everybody go to the living room now. It's time for my 4-act play that I just put together as a 7-year-old. But I even from very, very early in my life, like from 3 or 4, my mom has told me that I would always say, I want to be on TV, I want to be in movies. So I don't know that there was like one particular moment. I think I just always wanted to do that, always had that bug, started doing theater at a young age. And then that sort of snowballed. I was doing local theater here in Oklahoma City, and there was an open casting call in Dallas that was for an Adam Sandler movie called Spanglish. And I was 11 and I auditioned, and, I really just did it for fun. We didn't know what we were doing, but I auditioned. They ended up flying me to LA. I screen tested and read with Adam Sandler and Taya Leone and James L. Brooks. And that was kind of the first time that we were like, oh, like people do this as a job. Like this is, an attainable thing. I think a lot of parents know they want to get their kids into that industry, or the kid wants to be in that industry, but like, you have no idea how to go about that. Living in Oklahoma, like, how are my parents supposed to know? So I think that was the moment where we were like, oh, okay, maybe we actually will pursue this, in a professional way.
Wow. And do you remember when you decided what kind of genre of movie you thought you might enjoy being in?
No, honestly, I just kind of would have done whatever. I mean, within reason. I just wanted to work, and I wanted to have that opportunity. And, when you're an actor, you don't really get to choose those things. I mean, I knew that I would love to do comedy. I really loved comedy, but at that point, you're kind of just throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall to see what will stick. It's like
Yeah.
student films, whatever it is that you can get your hands on. If you're an actor, you kind of just have to take all those opportunities and just see where they lead you, so that one day, hopefully, you have some artistic say in the kind of films you do. But I would have done pretty much anything at that point.
And I guess talking about like an artistic say and what's going on and that kind of thing, have you ever seen a character portrayed and thought, do you know what, I'd really like to do that? Or if they were to remake this movie, I would really just want to do that character a certain way?
I mean, I don't know that I would change anything about this particular performance, but the one movie, well, okay, so I love the movie Almost Famous. I love that movie. I think it's brilliant. And I love Kate Hudson's portrayal of Penny Lane in that movie. So if I had the chance to go back and play any one character ever, it would be Penny Lane from Almost Famous. But in terms of seeing a character and thinking, oh, I would do this differently, no, although I'm a nightmare to watch anything with, because I'm constantly critiquing the acting. A lot of that comes from what I do now, but I'm constantly critiquing it. I'm constantly like, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that. No, they didn't sell it. So I'm actually, my husband will tell you I'm a nightmare to watch anything with. Like, he can't enjoy anything because I just have so much to say about everything.
You are clearly very knowledgeable about acting in terms of especially some advice and I guess coaching now, which we'll get into a lot later. It's amazing. But in terms of if you could go back in time and coach yourself, what would be the bit of advice that you'd give yourself as as a budding talent in the industry?
That's a great question. I talk to my talent about this all the time now. I think the one thing that I would have told myself, and I started really young. I started when I was 11. Is just to be a kid and not to take things so seriously. And I tell parents and kids this all the time that want to be actors. I'm like, the number one thing is you've got to enjoy your life and be a kid. And if that is ever compromised, then you don't need to be doing it. And I think I just took everything very seriously. I still do. I was very professional, and I think I would never take that back, but I would definitely tell myself just to give myself some grace and some understanding that, hey, you're a kid. You don't have to be perfect all the time. You're a teenager. I think that would be the one bit of advice I would give myself, which is kind of another reason that I, do what I do now, is because I want to be there to be a voice for these kids coming from somebody that understands, and I can kind of advise them,
Wow, that is absolutely incredible and such great advice that I feel is almost very topical, especially nowadays with
Yes.
what people have to say about almost missing out on childhoods and doing things to almost reclaim that back. And to hear that is just so powerful.
Yeah, I tell the parents all the time, I'm like, if there's anything else your kid wants to do, like anything else, have them do that, because it's not an easy industry. You have to have a really thick skin. Even at a young age, they don't care if you're 15 or you're 50. They're going to treat you the same on a set. So I think, it's just important to enjoy your childhood and not put so much strain on yourself.
Absolutely, yes. Even in like movie reviews, you always hear like the reviewer going, "Oh, child actors really annoy me. Like, this person grated me," and it's kind of like, obviously, when you're reviewing, you need to kind of look at it analytically. But it's like, especially in the age of social media, I could not imagine being, presented to that scrutiny. Like, it's something
I'm
that would
so
be
glad
alien
that
to
social
me.
media wasn't a thing like it is now, because when I was doing, because it's just, I can't imagine these days. It's even tougher with social media being what it is.
So, in terms of your story as it is, what piece of advice were you given that really helped you along to where you are now?
I would say that someone told me recently, actually, a couple years ago, that you have to just kind of fake it till you make it a little bit. And I think that that's so true. Like, I feel like if you're constantly setting limitations on yourself and, what you can and can't do, like, we're all critical of ourselves. We all set certain limiting beliefs for ourselves. But I think you have to just kind of ignore that like evil voice in your head and just sort of push forward. You know, if you think, I want this job promotion, but I don't want to ask for it because I don't think I deserve it. Well, okay, you have two options. So you can ask for it and not get it because they say you don't deserve it, or you can just never ask for it because you're too afraid of the rejection. And so I think you have to just really believe in yourself, and then eventually other people will believe in you too. But you have to be the first one, because if you don't believe in yourself and your capabilities, then like, who else is going to believe, you know?
Wow. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I tell my students that all the time. I'm like, I don't care if you're scared. That's another piece of advice, is that the things that scare you the most are probably the things that are going to be the most valuable for your life.
Yeah.
You know, you can't live your life feeling comfortable and, you know, always, because then you're going to, you know, you'll never progress. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we're gonna kind of shift our focus on these questions now. We're gonna talk a little more about Daphne, if you're all right with that.
Awesome. Yes, of course.
So to
That's
start
what the
out,
people really want to know. Let's get down to it. That's what the people really want to hear.
everybody grab your popcorn now. So with Daphne Blake being such an iconic character, and of course you did a wonderful job portraying her, how exactly did you find out about the audition for that?
Okay, so I don't know how much you guys know sort of about how the process of like being an actor works, but basically you're an actor, you have an agent and a manager, and they submit you for all of the roles that come up. So like the production offices and the casting directors post all these roles on a thing called Breakdown. And then as an agent, what you're doing every day is you're going through these breakdowns and finding roles that you think might fit your client. So that's how I got the audition. My agent, you know, called me, you have this audition. And keep in mind, I mean, you know, at that time I'm going on probably 10 auditions a week. I mean, it's nonstop, you know, you have 5 million no's before you have a yes. So yeah, so my agent called me and said, you know, you have an audition, and it was Scooby-Doo.
Wow.
That's amazing. And how do you found that you prepared for the audition? So you had so many. Did you find that you had time to kind of tailor what you were doing, and there was something specific that you did for Daphne? Or was it just, you know, you had to just have a procedure to prepare for the quantity that you were attending?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have always had a method of, and probably more so now just because I teach it, but every actor has their own process of preparing for an audition. So obviously the first thing you've got to do is you've got to memorize your lines. You can't be looking down at your lines, which that did become a challenge at times. I mean, I always got it done, but you know, you can imagine when you have 2 auditions a day, that's a lot of dialogue. And so the first thing I did was I learned my lines. And then once you have the dialogue down and you have that memorized, then you can kind of start to play with it. And so what I really focus on, and I teach my students a lot of this now, is really anytime you get an audition, and Scooby was no different, you know, you take the character. What do you know about this character? Now, Scooby was a little bit different because obviously it was a pre-existing character. So there was a lot of information out there about her. So I just watched it, you know, but then it was important to me to kind of modernize it a little bit, you know, and humanize Daphne a little bit. So I just, you know, I kind of went through my normal process. And of course, once I had gone in and done my first audition, that's when casting will say to you, okay, I really like that. Maybe try this. And then you kind of just go through a process of tweaking it with this particular casting director, Harriet Greenspan, who I love to death, and I still am in touch with. You know, she kind of helped me tweak it a little bit, and it was, I mean, I think that I had probably 15 auditions for Scooby-Doo, so I had a lot of time to work on it and work through it.
That's amazing. And do you remember the first audition, kind of like what it was you had to do, if there were any tasks that you had to do, or any scenes that you had to go through?
I had a pretty good relationship with the casting director. So, you know, I kind of just came in and I was like, hey, what's up? I'm here, you know, and I believe that I read I think that the audition scene was that detention scene in the first movie.
Oh.
I think that I'm pretty sure that that's what I auditioned with. So, you know, I just kind of came in and did the scene, and, you know, there were no other sort of extra tasks that they asked me to perform. It was just about the scene.
That's very interesting. And I suppose after that was all said and done, did you have an inkling at all to if you got the role or not?
No, I mean, that's, like I said, this went on for probably 2 months of, okay, that was great. We're going to call you back. We're going to call you back. We're going to call you back. So you would, and also as an actor, you're going on so many auditions, you learn to just kind of like leave the room and just forget about it. Like, okay, that was a great audition. If I hear it, because most of the time, if you don't get something, it's not like they call you and they go, oh, you were great, but you just never hear anything. So if you sit around and you're like, oh, I really nailed that audition, I think I'm going to get this one, you will absolutely drive yourself insane. So I think I kind of just put it out of my mind. And then every time I would have a callback, I'd be like, I think this might be it. Like, I think this might be the last one. And then they'd call me again. Hey, we need you to come down to the studio and read for this person, and this. So eventually I was like, I may be auditioning for this for the next 20 years. Like, it's just never ending. So I think after our final screen test, I think that's when I was kind of like, I have a really good feeling about this. Like, after I met Robbie and Haley and Nick, that's when I was like, this seems like a really good fit.
That is really cool, especially with like the chemistry. I suppose we'll touch on it a bit later, but that is abundantly clear throughout both the movies. But I guess before that, how did you find out that you were cast as Daphne, and what was your reaction to that?
Oh, I mean, I was in LA. I was at a friend's house. And my manager called me, and I was like, and I knew that I was going to hear either way. Like, I knew, because that was the final screen test. When you get that far, they'll let you know, because you're at that point, you've already signed your contract. So what they'll do is they'll have like, the 2 or 3 people that are in the running, they'll have them go ahead and sign their contracts, do the deals, and then they'll make a decision. And so I'd already signed the contract. Like, I knew that this was going to be the phone call. And she called me, and she was on 3-way call with the casting director. And they both, they told me, and it was like very surreal. Like, I also have this thing where I'm like, I won't believe that I'm actually doing something until I'm on set filming it, because things happen all the time where they'll say you got something, and then for some reason, it's never happened to me, but for some reason they have to recast it. So I'm like, don't get your hopes up until you're sitting on set. But that was definitely a very surreal, exciting moment. I jumped, I screamed, because not only was it a role, but it's Scooby-Doo. Like, it's something that stands the test of time, that is so iconic, that I was just, understandably, I was ecstatic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a very, very exciting day.
And so when you were cast as Daphne, for, say, Mystery Begins, the first one, did you do any sort of, like, I guess, research or preparation? Did you go back and watch the show or anything, or did you just go into it with your own take?
Oh no, I became obsessed. I definitely went into it with my own take, but between booking it and then between starting production, I think that it was like a couple months. So I had those couple months to just watch it. I really think I primarily watched Scooby-Doo, Where Are You, though? Because I feel like I didn't want to sort of like overwhelm myself with all these different portrayals. And so I took that very basic Daphne from, not basic, you know what I mean? Like the baseline.
Yes.
And then I sort of just built upon that, I would say. Because she didn't have a whole lot of, really, she didn't have a whole lot of depth in the original cartoon. So, I wanted to take, okay, what do we know about her? And then kind of what can I add to it?
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you went back to the beginning, because again, it's the Mystery Begins. So, it's kind of back in that era a little bit.
Exactly.
So you kind of, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but were there, so obviously there was no talk between like the previous cast of like the other live action films that come before, but were there ever any discussions of like, oh, this is going to be a younger version of this Sarah Michelle Gellar Daphne, or were they like, this is its own complete thing, have fun with it?
I don't recall that was ever specifically discussed. It may have been, but again, that was a long, long time ago. A lot has happened between now and then.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we were all, the cast at least, was all kind of under the understanding of we're just kind of doing our own thing. It's on its own timeline and has nothing to do with the other films. It was very important to me to not go in there and try to be Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah.
I think we just really wanted to kind of bring our own thing to it.
Yeah, and I think kind of like the next question we've been touching on a little bit, but I'm really excited to hear you expand on this now, is you said that you were watching some of the old Scooby-Doo episodes, also that, it was important for you that you weren't too close to what Sarah Michelle Gellar had done. What kind of creative input were you able to have into Daphne's story and character, or did you have like a really tight script to stick to?
I mean, the Altier brothers wrote both of the scripts, and their writing was so great, and it gave us a lot of really wonderful material to work with. So as far as dialogue, they wrote the script. I didn't really have any input as to, what the story would be or anything like that. However, I definitely took what was written and then added little things, little looks, between us, or, kind of the job of an actor is to take what's written for you, right? Because I'm not a writer, I'm an actor. So I just kind of take what's written for me, and then I try to understand who that character is so well that I can add little like quirks, or, adding a little look to Fred or stuff like that. Just it's more for an actor. I feel like, at least for me, it's really more in the details, especially when you have as solid of a script as we have.
That's amazing. And do you remember at what time you got to meet your co-stars, Nick, Haley, and Robbie? Because I imagine they kind of had to go through quite a long process like you did. Did you meet them along the way, or was it until they decided each individual character?
So Nick and I had mutual friends. So I knew Nick's brother. I was friends with Nick's brother. So I knew who he was. However, the first time that I met them was at our final audition. There was two groups of Mystery Inc. So there was me, Robbie, Haley, and Nick, and then there was another group of us. So it was between me and the other Daphne, Nick and the other Shaggy. And they were like, we're gonna pair you guys up randomly in a group. It has nothing to do with who, but we're gonna just pair you guys up randomly. So they're like, okay, Nick, Haley, Robbie, Katie, you're one group, so and so, you're the other group. And then we all went into this big room, me, Robbie, Nick, and Haley, and there was a big circular table in the middle of it. And then there was 40 people, network executives, producer, director, writers, casting director, every, person you could think of. And we did the detention scene together in that room.
Wow.
And I feel like, the one with, obviously, the one, the detention scene in the library. And that was the first time I met them, and that was the point where I was like, this feels really good. I feel like the chemistry is really good. So, they read us, they read the other group, they let us all go. And so when I got the call that I had gotten it, my first question was, okay, well, who else booked it? And they were like, oh, it's your whole group. So that tells me that it wasn't random at all. They knew who they liked together.
Yeah, certainly.
And they put us together. But yeah, I mean, it definitely, from that moment, it felt very natural, and we all clicked pretty well as a group.
That is absolutely wonderful. And perhaps you've answered this for me, but I wouldn't want to assume anything. Would you say that there was a member of the cast that you got along the best with?
Nick and I were really, really close, and we still talk. I mean, we're still in touch. But Nick was kind of like a big brother to me, because I was the youngest also. So, I was 15. I think Haley was 17. I think Nick was 19. Robbie was probably 19. So I was the youngest by far, and Nick was kind of like a big brother to me. I love him. I love Nick Pilatus.
That is amazing. That is I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you've been able to tell, but I've been freaking out all throughout this. That's just amazing. That's awesome.
Hey, listen, I'm glad. I'm so happy that you're happy. I'm so glad to meet you guys. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. I guess here's a question that I only thought about Like literally, I had to add this one in, but it was how long did filming for the Mystery Begins take? Because I'm always interested in the behind the scenes aspect of things, and for the life of me, I would never be able to guess what time frame we'd be looking at.
Oh, we did it really quick. I think it took a month.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Yeah, we did it quick. I think we were in Vancouver for about a month. Filming principal photography for a month, and then I think we were there like a week before because I had to get my hair done and dye my hair red, and Nick had to get his facial hair trimmed correctly. Like it was just a whole, there was a whole week of us kind of doing costume fittings and that sort of thing. And then I think we shot for like 28 days or something like that.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good time.
So then going off of that, more behind the scenes stuff, I guess. What were some highlights for you from the set of the first movie?
I think just it being my first big project like that, it just was so cool and it was so surreal. And we were in Vancouver, which I'd never been to Vancouver. And so it was basically like being 16 and being on like a month-long vacation with your friends, So we would all go to dinner at night together, me, Robbie, Haley, and Nick. Like we would go eat together. We would go on outings on the weekends because we didn't work on the weekends. So we would go like sightseeing and stuff. And I think that's kind of the fondest memories that I have, is just being with them and like being in this city. And, at the time I felt like my dreams were coming true and there was just so much going on. And so that to me is just that feeling of like, wow, like I can't believe this is actually happening. I think that's probably my fondest memory.
That sounds so fun.
It was awesome. It was really cool.
So then after filming finished, if you know this, do you know how long it took for the movie to come out afterwards?
Oh boy, I don't know. I don't know that. I don't even know do you know when it came out?
Yeah,
What
it came out September 13th, 2009, because it came out for the 40th anniversary of Scooby.
Right. I want to say, and I could be totally wrong on this, I want to say we shot it in March.
Oh, all right.
That's what I'm thinking. Because, I think that, obviously the CGI and stuff takes a little while, but that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that we shot it from March to April.
That's amazing. And do you remember where you were when you first saw it?
Yeah, I was at Nick Pilates' house. We had did we have a screening? No, I take that back. So we had a cast screening at Warner Brothers, cast and crew, in one of their screening rooms. And then the first time I saw it on TV, I was at Nick Pilates' house and we had a little shindig. I think Haley was there too, but I don't think Robbie was.
Wow. And did you find that things changed for you after the movie came out? Do you felt like you were recognized more?
It's so funny at the time. Yes, I felt like things changed for me professionally. I don't think I got that. I don't think I got recognized that often, just because my hair wasn't red anymore. But it definitely changed. There were definitely people, which actually it's crazy. It blows my mind that it kind of changed my life forever. It kind of is crazy to me that even now, all these years later, people still are DMing me, you're DMing me wanting to do an interview. And I'm just really? It's I appreciate it, but it's crazy. I get DMs, I get messages every day from people. And so it's just crazy to me that even after all these years, which I think is, really speaks to Scooby-Doo and the fan base that Scooby has, you guys are some loyal fans. You guys really are some loyal fans, because even to this day, every day people reach out to me, and I think that's just so cool.
It is amazing, and trust me, I think both Milly and I are scheduled to graduate in about a week's time, and I was way more excited for this interview than graduation.
I mean,
congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. I mean, honestly, the next Scooby movie gets released on the same day as graduation, and JayBee was like, I can't graduate, I need to do the unboxing. I need to unbox it on channel. I'm not going to graduation.
Priorities, very important.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo is a priority. Come on.
Oh, of course it is.
Get them to send you diploma in the post.
Yeah, well, they can do that, I'm sure. They can email it.
You'll Skype in, you'll Zoom into the graduation, and you'll have you'll be doing your unboxing. It'll be quite an event. Everyone will love it.
You can wave the DVD on stage instead of the diploma.
Exactly. I love that.
Oh my gosh. But I guess our next question is a bit of an interesting one, and that's if you ever attended any conventions like a Comic-Con, I guess not as Daphne as an in character, but representing someone that played Daphne Blake in a movie.
I mean, after the first movie, when we were promoting the first movie, we went to Comic-Con and did a panel and a signing, and that was a different experience for sure. It was different, but it was so much fun. We had such a great time. I think that they premiered the trailer at Comic-Con. So we did a panel, we did discussions, we did a Q&A, which was another really, really awesome experience. But since then, no, although it's something that I would be interested in doing. So, if you guys know me, I'm not part of that world, so I don't know how that works, but it's definitely something that I would be interested in doing. I love meeting fans. I love talking to the fans, and it was such a big part of my life. I love to share that with people.
Yeah, of course. Well, I guess, for cons based in the UK, I don't know if that's really a possibility right now. Millie and I are always willing to do some research, but because Smash is located in America, I think that's probably going to be a more realistic thing if you want to find out about cons.
Probably.
Although
I think a lot of them are virtual now. I think they're doing that a lot.
I'm going to one next week. It's called Fan X, and Frank Welker is going to be there, so I'll meet him next week.
Oh, and then I think they're coming to the UK like 2 weeks later, because at the start of October we're going to see Frank Welker, and then I think mid-October is Matthew Lillard.
Oh yeah, in Manchester.
Yeah.
Now Matthew Lillard, I do know. I don't remember how I know this, but I do know that it came down the line that he really liked Nick's portrayal of Shaggy.
Oh,
I know that was in a discussion once, which was really cool. Unlike Sarah Michelle Gellar, who didn't want to talk to me.
Oh.
Not bitter or anything.
No, it's fine. It's cool. It's whatever. But yeah, I would definitely be interested in looking into some conventions, and I actually might do that. I might have my representation look into that for me, because I think that would be so fun.
Come to Fan X, because then I can actually meet you in person. It's in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay. I actually texted Nick the other day, and I was like, Nick, what are we doing? We got to get to some conventions.
Yes, do it, please.
Yeah, Smash. I will mail you my Daphne Funko Pop to just
get it signed.
Please.
Yeah, I will definitely keep you guys posted on that. It's something I would be very interested in.
Thank you so much. And I guess I've already mentioned a bit of I guess it's kind of a mainstream collectible at this point, but stuff along the lines of Funko Pops. I know at conventions it's usual that the star will sit there with, I guess, a handful of photographs of themselves in their renowned roles, but did you have anything that sticks out to you that a fan brought to you out of the Comic-Con to sign that you thought was particularly cool?
Oh boy, I'm trying to. Someone had me sign their body, which was different. Yes, it was a grown man in a dog collar, so that was different as a 16-year-old. But no, I think what we did is we signed posters. I think that we had posters there, we signed them. I think that's for the most part, but that was all such a blur. Like, it was so exciting. There was so much going on. So no, there's nothing that really sticks out to me that I can recall, except maybe the man that had me sign his
that one would stick out for sure.
Yeah,
my mom's sitting over there like watching, like, what in the world is going on? I'm like,
I'm surprised you didn't get you to sign the collar. That would have been a bit more.
Right? It's like, somewhere in this world, there's a man with my name tattooed on him, probably. I don't know.
Okay, so I think we'll change our focus over to the sequel now, Curse of the Lake Monster.
Yes.
So what point did you find out that they were going to do a sequel, or did you always know that when you were doing Mystery Begins?
So we signed a 3-picture deal, meaning that we were under contract for 3 films. So we knew that there would probably be a sequel. I know a lot of it kind of depended on the numbers for Mystery Begins, but fun fact, I believe to this day, I think still it holds the record. Mystery Begins was the most, was the highest rated broadcast in all Cartoon Network history as far as ratings.
Still is, yep.
Is it? Oh, that's so
Yep.
cool. Yeah. So highest rated ever. I think Curse Lake Monster is the second highest rated. So after the first one did really well and got a really good reception, they started working on the second one. And actually, the first one was meant to be a pilot, like a backdoor pilot, meaning that they wanted to do like a weekly series with us.
Yes.
But what I've heard about that is that it was way too expensive because the dog, obviously costs a lot of money and the monsters and all that stuff. So yeah, I want to say pretty soon after I knew that it was happening. I want to say like the next summer we were starting pre-production.
Wow. All right. Yeah. So then, not to pick your favorite child or anything, but did you enjoy one over the other filming wise?
Yeah, I think it's hard. And I think Curse of the Lake Monster, just because we were already like all so established as a group, we already had those relationships with one another. So we were all just really excited to do it again. And I think too, after doing Mystery Begins, we kind of learned, we kind of figured out like Daphne's hair. We figured out what we wanted to do with that. Like we had a much stronger idea of things that, okay, we really like this, but here's what we want to improve upon. Here's what we want to change. Here's what we want to tweak a little bit. So as a whole, I think that Curse Lake Monster is a more polished film. I think it's more, I feel like we were all just really established in our characters at that point. So we had a little bit more freedom, creatively.
That's amazing. And do you remember what some of your highlights were from filming The Curse of the Lake Monster?
Yeah, I would say all of the guest stars that we worked with. So like Marion Ross from Happy Days and Nichelle Nichols from Star Trek, Ted McGinley from Married with Children, Jonathan Winters, who I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he's a very, very, very famous comedian. He was, Robin Williams said he's one of his greatest inspirations. Like he was, and his scenes, I believe, actually were cut from the film, but that was like a very surreal moment because he was just such a big, big star and such an icon. So it was really cool to be able to work with, people. And Brian Levant, the director, he like knows everybody. He's been in the industry forever. Also, our director of cinematography was Dean Cundy, who did Back to the Future, Jurassic Park.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. We were working with some real legends. Our musical composer was the composer of Anastasia, the animated film. Like we were just working with such big names that was a really, really cool experience.
That's amazing.
I have to say quickly with the Jonathan Winters, he had an episode in the new Scooby-Doo movies, and you guys like did a little like flashback scene of that episode. So when I heard that he was in it, but his part got cut, I was so upset because I love that episode.
Oh, he was amazing. He was so funny. I mean, he was already like in his 80s, so yeah, he was just so cool to work with. He was supposed to be in the scene with the barn when the barn, does it like catch on fire or something? Yeah, he was in that scene, and like the ad libs he was throwing at us, like we just couldn't keep a straight face. It was so much fun.
We need a director's cut with his parts.
Yes, I know. I feel like the deleted scenes are somewhere. Maybe on the gag reel that I have. I'll have to see if I can't find the cast gag reel. If I can find it, I'll send it to you guys.
It's amazing. And I know you're saying that you felt this one was a bit more polished. Did that mean that it took longer to film, or was it again kind of like the month mark?
I think it was probably, I think it was about a month.
Wow.
I think it was about a month, although there was other things that we were doing. So we shot that one in LA. So we had to go to David Newman's house and record the songs. And which, let me tell you something, that was not in the original script.
Oh.
At all. Okay. One day they called me and they said, you got to come down to the production office. Brian wants to talk to you guys. So we showed up down there and he's like, all right, I've added 3 musical numbers. We're like, what? I don't sing. Robbie doesn't sing. Like Haley obviously sings, but like we're not a musical bunch. What are you talking about? Yeah, we're gonna add these 3 musical numbers, and so we're gonna have to go here and record. We were just like, what in the world is happening? No one ever asked us if we could sing. They were just like, this is happening. So there was a lot, of stuff like that we had to do. But yeah, I think actual principal photography took about a month.
And there were actually some very cool behind the scenes features on the Curse of the Lake Monster DVD. You know, that they dive quite deeply behind the scenes. I love watching them, especially like you mentioned the musical scenes, especially with the rollerblading. It seemed very fun.
Yeah, I'm not in that sequence because I cannot rollerblade. In fact, I would always be hurting myself. Like, I was known as somebody that is very clumsy. So they actually built me like a contraption that was like a dolly that I would stand on, and then they would rotate me around to make it look like I was like spinning in a circle on skates. And then I think they cut it out because it didn't look good. But yeah, that was it was horrifying is the word that I would use. That was terrifying.
That's quite scary.
It was. I'm like, I'm gonna break a bone if you guys try to put me on skates. Like, don't do it. And then of course Robbie is like, you know, a hockey guy. Like, he was amazing, but I was like, this is, yeah. But I love those behind the scenes features. You know, it really was such a fun time, and it really takes me back.
Yeah, and perhaps you already answered this one, but maybe after Curse of the Lake Monster, was there any other interactions that you had with fan or fans that you found quite memorable?
Yeah, actually, there was one. So for a while, when I was like probably 20, I was doing studio tours at Universal Studios Hollywood. Just as, like, you know, you're an actor, you have to have several jobs. That's just how it works. And I was doing that, and this family came up to me after my tour, and they're like, "You look just like this lady that played Daphne." But, and I was like, "Oh, that's me," you know. And so that was really cool. And they stayed and talked to me for a while, took a picture with me. But like, that was definitely a standout for me.
Wow. And in regards to, I guess, the legacy of the character, we've of course seen Matthew Lillard step in to take over from Casey Kasem after their retirement. Now, in terms of handing down the reins, that actually seems to be quite a big thing for the Scooby-Doo franchise, more than most. So if in the future, if Greg Griffin, who's the current voice actor for Daphne, were to ever retire from the role and you were approached to take over in that capacity, would that be something that you'd be interested in?
100%. Totally. Call me if you're listening to this. Anybody involved, call me. I would love to voice Daphne.
Oh.
It's amazing.
I was kind of surprised because when they did Mystery, what was the next show that was it? Mystery Inc. or something that they did? It
that was
like
the one going on
movies.
when your movies came out.
So I remember being like, why don't they call me? I want to do it. And hello. So yeah, definitely if they ever called me, I would, you know, I'd be thrilled.
Well, now I want that to happen. So everybody go email Warner Brothers.
Let's make this happen, you guys.
Petition.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so this has kind of been in the pipeline, you know, rumor mill, that there was a third one. I mean, you said too that you signed for a 3-film contract. Do you? Sorry, I'm mixing up my words now.
No, it's okay.
Do you have any information on what exactly that third film would have been like at all?
Yeah,
Did you get anything?
We had a script, we had a table read. So I mean, I guess it's okay if I say this. Basically, it was going to be a time travel story.
Okay.
Gosh, it's been so long. I think that there was something like Velma falls in love with like Albert Einstein or I don't know. I just know we were going to film it in Europe. I was really excited because I was going to get to ride a horse, and I'm a very good horseback rider, so I was very excited about that. I know at one point Daphne was going to be like a pagan sacrifice type of situation, and they had to like, I think I died actually, and then they go back in time and they bring me back or something. It was going to be really cool. Yeah, it would have been awesome. I'm very we were all really sad when that kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
Which was basically just the department of Warner Brothers, which was Warner Premiere, just kind of disbanded, and then somebody that had the rights to thing didn't want to. It was a bunch of internal political stuff within Warner Brothers, and that's why it didn't get made.
Well, it's unfortunate. It sounds fun.
Oh yeah, it was. I remember we read the script and we just loved it. So it's makes me sad that it didn't happen, but it would have been great.
So if something did happen down the line, say they were like, oh, let's do a third, or if they were just like, let's do something else with that set of kind of characters or realm of the timeline or whatever, would you want to hop in as Daphne again? Or maybe what if it's about the kids of Mystery Inc. or something?
No, I was gonna say I would love to. I was gonna say I think I'm probably a little old for Daphne, but like Daphne's mom or something. I don't know. Call me, guys. I'm into it. I would do it. I love, especially if I had the opportunity to work with Brian Levant again, or really anybody involved in the first two films. It was such a great environment to be in. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But like you said, it'd have to be like the kids of Mystery, because again, I've aged out of the role a bit.
So I guess I am quite conscious that we seem to only have 6 or so minutes left. So if at any point you want us to kind of fast forward things, please do let us know.
Okay, I have a little extra time, so you can keep that. I'll just let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So the next question we have for you is something that Marvel are doing at the minute is they're looking at the multiverse and kind of bringing different characters together. If they were to do a Scooby-Doo kind of mashup of some of the live action cast from 2002 and some of the ones from the Mystery Begins as well, who would you most like to work with, or what would you imagine that mashup been like? So obviously you have Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, Linda Cardellini and Matthew Lillard from the live action.
There's the Daphne and Velma movie as well.
Yeah,
I would love to work with anyone really. I mean, I'd love to work with the original cast, Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Linda Cardellini. I would love to work with them. Yeah, really anybody they threw at me. I'm here for a good time. Whatever they want to throw at me, let's do it. I think that would be such a cool thing if they did like a multiverse with all the different Daphnes and stuff. I think that's actually a great idea. You guys should write that.
that would be amazing. And
that would be so cool.
in terms of like some of the like more recent Scooby things, like we were talking about how there's another movie coming out on the 13th of September. Have you kept up to date with the like more recent Scooby-Doo movies and shows?
I don't know. I'm very protective of our franchise. And so to be just 100% honest with you, I really haven't watched much. I mean, I didn't watch Daphne and Velma. I'm sure it was wonderful, but I was like, this doesn't even make sense. It's a totally different, this isn't how they met. So yeah, I mean, no, I really haven't, kept up with it. Although, I have a son, so I'm thinking at some point we're gonna have to watch everything because he's gonna have to be a big Scooby-Doo fan.
That's a really interesting question, because I actually I just want to sidetrack a second if that's okay.
Yeah.
Like we obviously follow like all Scooby-Doo cast and that kind of thing, and I know Sarah Michelle Gellar had done a tweet that JayBee saw that she'd let her children finally watch Buffy during the lockdown. Is there an age where you'd be like, okay, I want to introduce my child to like the Mystery Begins and kind of seeing the work that you did?
I mean, definitely. He's only 4 months old right now. But yeah, but as soon as I'm really excited. I think that's going to be a really cool experience of like, that's your mom, and I'm very curious to see how he reacts to it. So as soon as I feel like he even has any idea of what's going on, I'll definitely introduce it to him. And it's a great movie. I mean, kids love the movies. So it's definitely not content-wise something that I would be uncomfortable sharing with him. So I think, as soon as he gets a little bit older, it's going to be really fun to see how he reacts to it at different ages as well,
I was just really interested because I know like with JayBee and I having this channel, we kind of had a conversation of, do we want to, like, would we ever want our children to like listen to the channel? Would it just be that they stumbled across it and we were like, oh gosh, like we had that conversation and we're like, I don't know.
I want to like condition our like kids to fall in love with The Mystery Begins and Curse of the Lake Monster and not tell them that we've spoken to you for like a year into it, and then we just come across as like the coolest people in the world, like, oh well, here's the link to this episode.
yeah, man, just call me when that happens and I'll talk to them too, because that's the stuff that I really love, is like kids that love it. You know, I mean, I love the adult fans too, don't get me wrong, but I've had so many people reach out to me and just say, you know, oh, these movies helped me. They helped me through. I have a really wonderful student that actually I should introduce to you guys. Her name's Rihanna. She's also in the UK. And
Ooh.
she found me because she is a huge Scooby-Doo fan. And we started working together, you know, and she's told me that, shout out to Rihanna, because I know she'll definitely listen to this. But she, you know, she told me that it really helped her through difficult parts of her life. So I'm all for that. You know, I love when kids watch it. I'm excited for Otto, my son, to watch it. And yeah, I think it's you know, it's good. It's good content. I feel like they're good role models and everything. So I'm very, very excited for him to watch it eventually. I know I think Nick's daughter has seen it too and loved it. So
It is wonderful, and it really doesn't feel like it's been, what, 10 years since The Mystery Begins, right? So when that
it does and it doesn't.
yeah, like I think I
You
was
know,
about
like
11
for me,
at the time.
oh my
It's
gosh.
weird to think.
You're gonna kill me. Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it does. It feels like it was an entirely different lifetime ago, but it's kind of interesting. I would say over the last year, I've started getting a lot of requests for like interviews and podcasts and stuff. And I think it's so fun to like relive it and talk about it. And because it was such a great time. And I love that it's still so impactful for so many people. Like that means a lot to me.
Thank you. It definitely means a lot to so many people as well. And I guess on that topic, a particular viewer asked this question and we just thought it was amazing. And that was if you were given or you received any gifts from either of the movies, such as maybe props or costumes that you were able to keep.
You know, they were really strict about costumes just because, you know, they only have so many of everything and they have to keep everything in case you have to do reshoots or archive it or whatever. So they have all that stuff. I do have a Huckleberry Hound bobblehead that was on the dashboard of the Mystery Machine.
Ooh.
Yes.
My parents have it actually. My parents have like all of my memorabilia. They've got like a shrine to Scooby-Doo in their theater room. But yeah, I think that would be the one thing that I really, really got. And I think they had a few of them. And I think we each got one.
That is absolutely amazing. And I guess it's time to switch up the scene at this point, and we kind of want to talk about what you're doing at the moment, most notably Kate Melton Coaching, which is, when we found out about that, it's so amazing that you're able to impart wisdom and knowledge on people. And I was just wanted to ask you, what made you get into that side of the acting world?
Yeah, thank you. I having started acting so young, I kind of, after Scooby and stuff was done, I kind of had a little bit of like an existential crisis of like, what am I doing? Is this what I want to do? This is the only thing I've ever done, you know, and I tried a lot of different things. And I worked at a studio and I was kind of assisting an acting class. And that's when I realized that I really have such a strong connection with the kids, and they really listened to what I had to say for some reason. And it was important to me, you know, I have all this knowledge of a lifetime of doing this stuff. And it's my passion really now to kind of share that with students and parents and help parents sort of navigate the tricky waters of like getting their kid into it, you know, a career in the entertainment industry. It's very easy for these kids to be exploited. I mean, for things to happen, you know, that stuff unfortunately does happen, or overworked, or so I'm very passionate about kind of like, yes, I'm their acting coach, but I'm also kind of a mentor, and I also sort of help them navigate this career. And that was really important to me because I wish that I had somebody that filled the role in my life that I fill in a lot of these kids' lives now. Like, I wish that I would have had that, and I don't think that I did. I mean, I had my parents who are amazing, but you know, they didn't know. I mean, we were all new to this. We didn't know. So I think I just really wanted to be somebody that could be that voice for them, advocate for them, and also, you know, teach them about acting. I wanted to be able to do all of that. So that's kind of where it came from.
I love what you're doing. That's so cool.
Thank you. It's really just such a joy. And, you know, like I was saying earlier, it's like, you got to take those risks. And, I quit my job. I started this business. I was like, I don't know what I don't even know if this is going to work out. And then slowly but surely, it's just, over the last 2 years, it's just grown and grown from me having like 2 or 3 students to now I have like 50 plus all over the world, Philippines, the UK, I mean, everywhere, not just in LA. And that's kind of something that's cool about, everything that the world has been through the last couple of years, is it's really offered the opportunity to connect with people that you wouldn't normally have the opportunity to connect with. So if I still had a physical studio in LA, which I was renting one right before COVID hit, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet my clients in the UK or in, Delaware, like random places all over the country and all over the world that people want to do this, but they just don't know how, and it's not necessarily accessible to them. So now what I've done is I've gone online and it's accessible to everyone. And I've met some really amazing kids and parents that have really become like family to me in the process. And I love the fact that, if you're in a small town in Arkansas, you still have access to really quality, Los Angeles quality, like training and guidance also, because especially now in this world where everything's Zoom and virtual, gone are the days where you really have to be in LA to be an actor. Yeah. Everything is virtual, everything's on tape. So, that was something that was important to me, is to make sure people all over have that opportunity. Because it used to be, it's like, okay, you have to move to LA, to get good training, to do whatever. But now you can do it all virtually, which is kind of a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. So have you had any like favorite moments while coaching students?
Yeah, it's the little moments. I love my students. I love that they are always so excited to like tell me about their first day of school and to like talk to me and share things with me. And, obviously the successes that my students have been, that's very exciting. One of my, students just booked this huge Nickelodeon movie, which is actually kind of funny because there's a cartoon on Nickelodeon called The Loud House.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys are familiar with that, and they're doing a live action movie right now. And my student Sophia Woodward is playing Luna Loud, and I coached her on it. And so it was just kind of funny. I was like, see, now you're playing a cartoon character too. Like, you're following in my footsteps, So obviously those moments of them booking big projects that feel to them the way that Scooby felt to me.
Yeah, that's so
really
cool.
Cool. Yeah, it kind of all brings like everything full circle,
Yeah. So what type of coaching do you offer exactly?
So I do private lessons, audition coaching. We have Zoom group classes for different age groups. So basically you come to my class, we do a little bit of improv, kind of get everybody breaks the ice, do some improv, and then we do scene study. So basically what scene study is, it's the process of taking a script and breaking it down. So really getting to the bottom of, so much of acting is not what's written, but it's what's not written. So subtext is a big thing. And so, we kind of work on identifying the subtext in certain scripts. And the other thing that I focus very heavily on is character analysis. I think it's so important in order to be able to bring somebody's 2-dimensional idea on paper of a character to life, requires answering questions about those characters that you would think are silly. Like, what is my character's favorite food? Well, if you're playing that character, then you've got to know that, because the more you know who that person is, the more truthful it is. So I do a lot of character analysis. And yeah, it's a good time. The kids, they team up, they have some, they have a scene partner, they have a scene, and, over the 4-week session, we work it until the goal is for it to be, audition quality by the end of the month. So, and then we do like fun, we also work on voiceover work. We do all kinds of stuff. I really try to keep it fresh and keep it exciting. Over the summer, I did a summer camp. So what we did was I had the kids actually like write a short film, and then the short film actually took place over Zoom. So we filmed it on Zoom and then edited it, and then had like a fully fleshed amazing short film at the end of it. So I'm always thinking of, new ideas, to the point where I call people that work with me and for me, and I'm like, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, you're an insane person. How are we going to film a short film in 5 days on Zoom and make it decent? And sure enough, it was brilliant. So,
Sounds incredible.
I'm just constantly
Wow.
trying to like keep it fresh and, keep them interested and teach them. And then in my private lessons, that's a little bit more of a, a focused thing, because it's just one person. And so that allows me to kind of focus on your specific weaknesses, not necessarily weaknesses, but things that you need to improve upon, and kind of allows me to like really identify the things that you as an actor really need to work on. I also do career consulting. So if anybody's curious, how can I start a career in this industry? What do I do? What are my first steps? Which I do that as well. So I do career consulting and kind of help people get on the right track.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
So I guess we're reaching the end of our questions. So just before we do, I'd like to thank you for the time that you've spent with us today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm like I said, it means so much to me to be asked, and that you guys are interested in what I have to say. So I really, I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone out there that loves the films.
Yeah, I'm gripping onto the last bit of professionalism I have, because it's taken everything for me not to like scream, and I've just realized I was literally able to welcome my birthday in talking to Daphne Blake. So I'm like, yeah,
Is it your birthday?
yeah, like
It's amazing.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like,
Oh my gosh.
if I had
Happy
one
birthday.
little bit of like, I'm you know what? Thank you so much. I'm nearly in tears. I'm not even kidding. I'm so sorry. This is oh my gosh.
I'm so happy to do it, and I'm happy it's your birthday. I didn't even know that. So happy birthday, and I'm so glad that I could share a little piece of it with you.
Thank you. Oh my
So
gosh.
before we go, can we just ask where any like aspiring talent could book into the coaching sessions with you, or like the career mentorships that you do?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at Kate Melton Coaching. And that just sort of gives you updates on what we're doing. I post, class updates, stuff like that on there. And then if you want to visit my website, it's www.katemeltoncoaching.com. Spelled like how you think it was spelled. And that gives you kind of a full list of all of my classes that I'm offering. You can also send me an email if you have questions. And yeah, you can book right through the website.
That's amazing. And in terms of some of the stuff that we were talking today, like, all our hopes and dreams to get to see you at Comic-Con and that kind of thing, do you have any social media where people can follow you for information like that as well?
Yep. So any and all information like that will be on Kate Melton Coaching. That's my one and only Instagram account. So anyone else that says they're me is not, but Kate Melton Coaching will give you all of those sorts of updates and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we will leave a link to that in the description down below. We urge everyone listening to this to check that out, because it is absolutely phenomenal.
It is. Thank you again so much for your time today. This has been the Kate Melton interview. We hope you've all enjoyed. Thank you for listening, and remember to check out Smash or Pass this Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So, at that point, we really do hope that you enjoyed the Kate Melton interview as much as we did. Honestly, that moment is going to stick with me forever. Like, wow, what a great time. But we can't record this, unfortunately, so you are unfortunately going to have to take our word for who the winner is, but maybe we'll do another one. I do think we've got one of the regular Funko Pops that we can give away at some point, but it might be a while, we don't just want to do these all the time. But Millie, if you want to reach into the bowl.
Yeah, so just to kind of reiterate, this competition was if you submitted a question.
Maybe I'll try and record some of it, just for proof, right?
So this giveaway was if you'd submitted a question for the Kate Melton interview, then you got added into a bowl for one of the Werewolf Funko Pop sodas. So let's go. Let's go with this one. Is that good?
Okay, yeah. So let's see who our lucky winner is. Best of luck, everyone.
Ripping into it. We put paper in here. Yeah, it's there. Okay, and the winner is
Oh my gosh, it's
Haven
Haven
S from YouTube.
Oh my gosh, they were in our premiere for the first giveaway, and I think they said that their favourite was Shaggy. So when the last member of the gang that we pulled from Playmobil packs was Shaggy, they were convinced that they'd won that one, which they didn't, but they were actually, I think they were a bit disappointed that they didn't win that time. So personally, I'm very, very happy that they've won. Obviously, in an ideal world, everyone could win. We're going to have an opportunity for some more people maybe later down the line. Literally, if I could, I'd give it to everyone, but this is amazing. So yeah, I guess we'll be in touch to send you some things. So that'll be good. So yeah, this has been the Kate Melton interview. Once again, please like, comment, and subscribe to JayBee Milly, and smash
and check out Kate Melton Coaching.
And we hope to see you all in Hollywood soon.